Yeah, so back Roshfooco watches and things. Today, quick one looking at the San Martin Retro Water Ghost. Reference 6200. Available on AliExpress, where I got this one. Obviously you've seen lots and lots of reviews of this on YouTube. I won't bore you with all of those details. You can go and have a look at somebody else's video. But there were 5 things that came up. My experience with this watch and looking at the videos online as well. 5 things that have come up that perhaps we could reference whilst looking at a similar watch of a similar genre. So this is a 38mm dive watch. It's actually 39 across the bezel, but it's 38mm case. So I thought we could have a look at it alongside my Man Hudson. This is a different price bracket. This is more expensive, more than twice the price, I think. But it is a vintage inspired dive style watch. And I think we can look at them side by side to look at our 5 points of interest in today's video. And they are the dial, the bezel, the movement, the bracelet, and the clasp. First thing to look at is the dial. What we're doing here, the people making these watches are trying to reference vintage dive watches, and they're trying to give us that retro aesthetic. So let's have a look at what they've done on the dial. Painted indices on the St. Martin with that kind of off-white custard type loom, and just painted on wording, lettering. Shout out to Gen 1 Retro Water Ghosts with Submariner written on the dial. I think the new ones have got automatic, but this is a Gen 1. The Man has, if you can see that, it's got very nicely applied indexes. I think if you're looking for retro style, and yes, it's subjective, as is 99.9% of the things that you look at on watch videos, I think for a retro style, this does the job for me. Painted on indexes, like it. Handset, the Man has got a kind of unique handset that they made themselves. I like that. This one, you know, Rolex style Mercedes handset. It's okay, it's fine, but it's a bit lazy, it's a bit boring. And I think those 1950s Rolex references, they had kind of stick hands, certainly more like fence post hands than you see the later ones with the Mercedes hands. The luminescence, because of this kind of old school faux patina loom, the loom it's okay, it's great, but it's not Seiko Diver, but it's fine. So that was the first thing. The second is the bezel. Now the bezel on this works fantastically. We've got ASMR for you. Rock solid, works a treat. I mean, that's not one of the things that came up though. It's not the action, it's the material. Ceramic bezel, fantastic longevity, durability. It's not going to fade, it's not going to scratch. It might break, but it's not going to weather. On the Man, we've got a lazily, they didn't even put a loom pip on it, but aside from that, that kind of lovely dull soft reflection that comes off a aluminium insert. Yes, it's gonna pick up some nicks, it's gonna scratch, it's gonna fade, it's gonna get washed out by the light over years. I think, again, if you're going for that vintage aesthetic, if that's what you're doing here, aluminium is the way forward. Yeah, this is great, and it's a modern material, but it's too shiny. You know, it doesn't fit in with the rest of it. If you're going to have shiny, have shiny applied indices. That's what I reckon. You could have flipped the bezels on these two actually. Number 3 is the movement. This has got an ETA 2824 in it, but again, it's more than twice the price. This has got an NH35, so it does have a wind and a hack, but it also has it's got a ghost position. Would it be nicer if it's an NH38? Certainly. Am I bothered by it? Not at all. Next thing is the bracelet. Okay, so it's got these kind of faux rivets. Subjectively, the style might not appeal to you as much, but it's very well made. Word of warning is that you are going to need to tighten it with not one but 2 supplied screwdrivers to make sure that those links are in, and you're also going to need to use the supplied thread locker as well, because these will work themselves loose if you do not apply the thread locker. So word of warning, but it is a very well made, evenly brushed, finished link bracelet. I like it. The only thing that's come up is, of course, it's got this weird, and it's even weirder than usual because you can almost see it's bent out, this male end link. The Marn has got a female end link, and that sits really, really well. This one, because of that end link, actually kicks out the bracelet from the dimensions of the case, which I don't think is ideal. Because it's a 38, it fits on your wrists fine. It doesn't matter. But if it was a bigger watch, what happens, or even on this watch as well, you can see the kind of end of the bracelet link. Now, St. Martin have rounded off and finished all of those links, so that's fine. You're not going to have a problem. In other bracelets, you'll see they finish the top and they finish the side, but this is an unfinished end. So on a male end link, quite a lot of the time you're looking at a kind of dirty, unfinished kind of top side of the link. Luckily in this one it hasn't, and as I say, it's a 38, it doesn't really matter. But if I was choosing, I would have a female end link. Last thing is the clasp. Clasp is fine, put together really well, snaps into place. It's all milled out. It's got generous 4 micro adjusts. You can see that I still have that old school link that can't fit in past the second one, but luckily enough I did email them and they sent me a replacement link for free, which is fine. I don't need to use it because this one fits me fine as it is, but that was a nice touch from customer services there. This one is, yeah, it's got a milled out scissor, but it's a bit of a crappy stamped clasp housing, but it does have a fold over, and you know what, this one doesn't, and just because of that it feels a little, I know it's got that, that's very nice, but because it doesn't have that fold over, I would prefer a fold over. Let's just put it that way, I would prefer the fold over. So there's the 5 things that I thought have come up in my experience with this watch and watching other videos on YouTube as well. The dial I think is done really well. I think the handset's a little lazy. The bezel works fantastically, but I think it's the wrong material if you're going to go for a 1950s retro look. The movement, got no problem with it. The bracelet is fine. I would have preferred female end links, but it doesn't matter on this because of the things they've done to mitigate that, finishing the links, and because it's a 38. And the clasp, works well, made really well, but I think I would prefer a little flip lock security on there. So that's the San Martin 6200 retro water ghost in about 10 minutes. Too good, the size and the customer service. All I had to do was send them a message and they sent me this as quick as they could, so that's really nice. Too bad, I think the handset's lazy, and I think I don't want it falling off my wrist. I think I would like a flip lock on there, but it's a great watch. It's whatever it is these days, 170 quid or something. If you're into your retro style, if you like your vintage looking divers, then perhaps the 6200 is it. Roshfooco Watches and Things, and I'm out.